You know that traditional advice about money? Go to school, get a good, safe job, save your money. What if it's all a trap? Well, today we're diving into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book that flips all of that conventional wisdom completely on its head. Right out of the gate, Kiyosaki sets up his life around two totally opposite beliefs. His dad, who was highly educated but always struggling with money, taught him the love of money is the root of all evil. But his best friend's dad, who was wealthy, said, nope, the lack of money is the root of all evil. And that one huge difference in thinking, it changes absolutely everything. So let's meet these two dads. Poor Dad was Kiyosaki's actual father, a smart guy who believed the goal was job security. Climb the corporate ladder. Rich Dad, on the other hand, was his friend's father, an entrepreneur. He taught that a paycheck wasn't the goal at all. The real goal was financial freedom, and you get that by owning assets. Two dads, two completely different playbooks for life. So this big clash in ideas leads us right to the first major lesson from Rich Dad, learning to see the invisible trap that keeps most people stuck. He had a name for it, the rat race. Now, Rich Dad's first lesson didn't happen in a classroom. He had a young Kiyosaki and his friend working in one of his convenience stores, dusting cans for, get this, 10 cents an hour, for weeks. As you can imagine, Kiyosaki was furious. He felt used, like a total slave, and he was ready to quit. He had no idea, but the lesson had already started. Rich Dad used that anger to finally put a name on the problem, the rat race. And what is it really? It's this endless, exhausting cycle that's powered by two very human emotions, the fear of not having enough money and the desire for all the cool stuff money can buy. That fear and desire is the engine that keeps that wheel spinning day after day. And this just lays it out perfectly. I mean, picture a hamster on a wheel, right? You get a job because you're scared of being broke. Then you get a raise. Great. So you buy a bigger house or a nicer car. But now your expenses are higher, maybe you've got more debt, and suddenly you're trapped. You have to work even harder just to keep up. The wheel just spins faster. So what's the way out? Rich Dad's answer wasn't to get a bigger paycheck. That just makes you run faster on the wheel. The only real way to escape is to completely change your mindset. You have to stop working for money, and you have to start making your money work for you. Okay, so make money work for you. Sounds good, right? But how do you actually do that? Well, this brings us to what is probably the most famous lesson in the entire book, understanding the simple but powerful difference between an asset and a liability. So, remember that miserable 10-cent an hour job? After Kiyosaki and his friend quit, they noticed the store was just throwing out old comic books. So they had an idea. They collected them, opened up a little library in an empty room, and started charging the neighborhood kids 10 cents to come in and read them. This little business was their very first true asset. It made them money even when they weren't physically there. And that comic book library led to Rich Dad's beautifully simple definition. Forget all the complicated accounting terms. An asset is simply anything that puts money into your pocket. That's it, period. And a liability? Well, you guessed it. It's just as simple. It's anything that takes money out of your pocket. The only thing that matters is which way the cash is flowing. Now, this is where the book really starts to shake things up. Using these definitions. Is your house an asset? Well, think about it. Between the mortgage, the property taxes, insurance, repairs, it's constantly taking money out of your pocket. So according to Rich Dad, it's a liability. A rental property, though, one that brings in more in rent than it costs, now that's an asset. All right, so understanding assets is step one. Step two is figuring out where your money actually comes from in the first place. For this, Kiyosaki created something called the cash flow quadrant. Think of this diagram as a map of the entire financial world. It shows the 4 basic ways that people generate income. The letters are pretty straightforward. E is for employee, S for self-employed, B for business owner, and I for investor. So on the left side, you've got employees. They have a job. And the self-employed, people like doctors or freelancers, they own a job. The key here is that if they stop working, the money stops coming in. But on the right side, you have business owners who own a system that makes money, and investors who have their money making more money for them. They don't have to be there for the income to flow. So just take a second and think about it. Where does the majority of your income come from? Your honest answer puts you somewhere on this map. And here's the big takeaway from Kiyosaki.
The path to true financial freedom, he says, is to move from the left side of this quadrant over to the right side. It's all about shifting from trading your time for money to owning systems and investments that work for you 24/7.
So we have these huge ideas, right? Escaping the rat race, acquiring assets, moving to the right side of the quadrant. But what's the very first step? How do you even begin? Well, it all boils down to one simple, incredibly powerful concept. The book argues that your financial future isn't really decided by how big your paycheck is, or what degree you have, or how smart you are. No, it all hinges on one single factor. Think about it. Every single dollar that comes into your life is a choice. You can choose to spend it on liabilities that make you poorer, or you can choose to use it to buy an asset that builds your future. Your entire financial destiny is built $1 and one choice at a time. So, that leaves us with one final, really powerful question to think about. The next time a dollar comes into your hand, what choice are you going to make? Will it build a liability, or will it build an asset? According to Rich Dad, that single choice will make all the difference in the world.
Subscribe now for more book summaries.